From museums to the performing arts, Florida's cultural arts scene is a multi-billion-dollar industry hit hard by the COVID-19 pandemic. We look at the impacts of the local arts community and plans to reinvent cultural tourism as we know it. Stay with us as we dive into your South Florida. Hi, I'm Jumaane, filling in for Pam Giganti. Welcome to your South Florida. Thanks for joining us. From photography to the ballet, the arts have always been a great connector, allowing us to explore our different cultures and express our truest selves, whatever the form. In Florida, cultural institutions and the arts are a multi-billion-dollar draw for the state. Here in South Florida, events like Art Basel and Miami Beach brings in millions of national and international tourists annually. But much like the hospitality and service industries, cultural tourism has suffered great economic losses and unemployment because of the COVID-19 pandemic. On this recent town hall, I was joined by the leaders of the Cultural Council for Palm Beach County, Fountainhead Residency and Studios, and Broward Center for the Performing Arts to look at these impacts and the future of the cultural tourism in South Florida. Now, I want to start the discussion off with, the number one thing we've just encountered since March, February, January, whatever. I want to start by discussing the impact each of you have witnessed since the pandemic has started. Economic losses, unemployment, impacts on artists.
Well, I mean, the economic impact for artists and for institutions has been devastating. Now, thankfully, artists do what they always do, and they rise to the occasion, and they figure it out. You're seeing artists starting new initiatives, but not only to support their own financial stability, but also to support the organizations in need of help. I mean, artists are always the first to jump in a time of challenge. So you see artists doing initiatives to support Black Lives Matter. You see artists do initiatives around around climate change. But that doesn't change the fact that artists, as well as the institutions, are in a very challenging time. And we're only just at the beginning. I mean, the institutions have yet to open for the most part. So I really don't think we're seeing the impact as of yet.
Dave, what do you think about that?
Nationally, the nonprofit arts and cultural sector has lost $10.2 billion in economic activity. When we talk about artists, 63% of individual artists or creatives will have become fully unemployed and expect to lose an average of $22,000 a month. In Palm Beach County, 98% of our surveyed organizations reported canceled programming. Specifically, that is 1,461 events, equaling 888,277 people that they've lost in attendance. The organizations have lost a total of $26.2 million since the beginning of March, with another estimated $16.4 million through the end of 2020 in earned revenue. And you then add on top of that an estimated loss of more than $5.4 million in contributed income. So the impact is profound. And as Kathryn said, it's ongoing. And what we've seen nationally is that the cultural sector is one of the hardest hit sectors, and it will be one of the slowest to recover.
Kelley, is it saying those your sentiments, Kelley? What do you feel?
Yeah, well, those pictures of our industry are very accurate. You heard the words profound impact, you heard devastating impact, and some important statistics there from Dave. And I think maybe the point to make here is that it's never been a better time to recognize the arts as a business. These are all small businesses doing business in our community like any other business that's been impacted. But to Dave's point, we've been out of it for longer than most, and we will be the last to re-enter this economy as time goes on and we eventually get over this virus. So the only adjective I can add to that in terms of the performing arts industry and its impact is that the impact has been complete. And I'll add a couple more statistics just specific to the Broward Center. We employ almost 500 people here on a regular basis, and 85% of those folks are not currently working here. The rest have pivoted, and that's probably our word of the year, right, to other activities and other ways to serve the community. But we've got a lot of people that are unemployed, a lot of people in our community that aren't being served. But unfortunately, we're in the business of public gatherings. We can't wait to get back to it, but there's a big pause on it right now.
Well, yeah, we want to hear from the Florida Keys as well. So the Florida Keys Tourism Council, they have a statement from their media relations director, Andy Newman. Let's check that out and see if we have any thoughts on what they have to say.
My name is Andy Newman. I'm the media relations director for the Florida Keys Tourism Council. The Florida Keys has several different facets that attract visitors to the island destination. You've got your sport fishing, you have your diving, your snorkeling, you have your normal laid-back atmosphere as well. But certainly arts and cultural plays a very important role, and probably a more increasing role in helping to attract visitors than perhaps it did 25 or 35 years ago. Tremendous amount of art galleries up and down the Florida Keys. The history that the Florida Keys has in terms of whether it's literature or shipwrecks, all of that is encompassed in various displays up and down the Keys. The Custom House Museum is fabulous. You've got the Discovery Center up in Alamorada and the Crane Point Hammock Natural History Museum. So a lot of that, a lot of private businesses, and obviously they've all taken a hit throughout the last couple of months. I've done public relations for the Florida Keys Tourism Council now for 40 years. And we have been challenged with hurricanes. We have been challenged with a Gulf oil spill. We've never seen anything like this. COVID-19 has had a serious impact on tourism flow to the Florida Keys, first starting with a complete shutdown beginning in late March. And you need to understand that tourism employs some 45% of our workforce in the Florida Keys. So we're talking about major job losses, tremendous unemployment during those 2.5 months. We have reopened, the Keys reopened to visitors on June 1, and the tourism flow has its ebbs and it has its downs throughout the last couple of months. A number of significant events had to be canceled, most notably the annual Hemingway Days Festival that has been going on for some 40 years and consecutive 40 years, except for this year. Pretty much all of the Hemingway Days Festival was canceled with the exception of the Key West Marlin Tournament. We've even seen losses on events as far back as April. The annual 7 Mile Bridge one, for instance, had to be canceled. Now, we did have the Underwater Music Festival, obviously an easy one to do, social distancing above and underwater as well. They had to postpone the Key West Songwriters Festival. There's a possibility that a smaller scaled version of the Songwriters Festival might be occurring. And then also on the potential list for the next couple of months, Key Largo Original Music Festival in mid-October, and the 23rd annual Taste of the Islands, finally the Big Pine and the Lower Keys Island Art Fair. A lot of that is going to be contingent on whether those organizers can institute safe COVID-19 protection protocols.
Wow. It's really interesting because I don't think people understand how much the Keys are such an artsy place where it's even different than other places in the state where we're institutions. That's a whole city that's being affected, part of the state. So what do you guys think about that? What did you how was your response?
Well, I think, an important point here is the synergistic relationship that's always existed between the arts and tourism. And it really got pointed out there in that piece from the Keys. So, when I think about it here in Broward County, about 15% of the people attending shows at the Broward Center last year came from outside of South Florida. So tourism is an important driver to the arts institutions themselves. Likewise, though, 60% of all tourists pointed to the arts as one of the reasons they chose the destination they were visiting. So it's also a driver for tourism and bringing people into the market and driving a really important piece of our economy. And so we've always recognized that that exists, and we work very closely with the tourism industry to make sure that the economy is banging on all cylinders here in Broward County.
Well, those are great statistics, Kelley. You know, tourism is a huge part of Palm Beach County's economy, and there really is a symbiotic relationship between the cultural sector and the rest of the economic engine that's driving tourism. There are countless studies that show that cultural tourists spend more and stay longer. So it really behooves all of us to do what we can to support these cultural organizations. We've said earlier that the word of the night is probably pivot. And I think that one of the things that I was so encouraged to see in that video is all of the unique ways that the Keys are taking on to try to lure folks back, and also coming up with creative ways to keep the Keys safe. So it takes all of us working together in sort of this symbiotic relationship and understanding that tourism impacts our economic impact overall. It is just so important.
So we know the problem. Now we need to figure out how to strengthen the community, how to strengthen the arts community, right? So I know in Miami-Dade, there's a countywide campaign to strengthen and ensure the longevity of the arts. It's a hashtag Miami Strong, right? So
Miami Arts Strong.
Miami Arts Strong, sorry. So first let's hear from the campaign spokeswoman, Kathryn Drohan, so she can tell us a little bit more. Then Kathryn, you can get on next. I believe you're a part of that, right?
I am, yes.
My name is Kathleen Drohan. I'm the Vice President of Public Relations for the New World Symphony, and I am one of the group that founded Miami Arts Strong. There is undoubtedly an impact to all of our organization, a financial impact to all of our organization, whether it's through ticket sales, through donations, and to us as employees. Many organizations had to furlough or lay off employees. We felt a real loss of that creative energy and that creative spirit. Many of us were able to transfer our activities to some virtual space, whether they were virtual tours of galleries, performances online. But we wanted to make sure that the space existed for people to continue to make art and to celebrate that creation. After all of our organizations closed, we gathered as colleagues to start talking about our shared issues and communication issues and concerns, and realized we were a great support to each other, and we wanted to share what we all were doing to create arts and to remain connected to our communities, and also to hear what other people were doing, how people were using the arts during this time to stay connected, to stay together, to stay engaged. Miami Arts Strong, hashtag Miami Arts Strong, is how we chose to share our activities. Organizations like the Perez Art Museum, the Bass Art Museum, the Fountainhead Residencies, which support individual artists, joined in. Zoo Miami is part of it, Miami City Ballet, the Vizcaya, Oh Miami Poetry Festival, Miami New Drama. Everybody who celebrates creation has come together and continues to. New organizations join Miami Arts Strong every single day to celebrate the art. And artists, individual artists are out there creating and using and sharing the hashtag. Miami Arts Strong today is not a fundraising organization. We're not a ticket sales organization. We are an organization that exists to celebrate art and the art that is being created in our community itself. We hope that we are able to use our collective power to share the value of art in our community and keep art top of mind. We as organizations want to continue to support each other and to support the arts community in Miami after this crisis, this need for immediate support. And we intend to remain together and find ways that we can work together as an arts community. The arts community in Miami, the arts community anywhere is a vibrant part of a community. There are studies that show that participation in the arts increases graduation rates, increases the overall economic health of a community, but it also increases the diversity, the excitement, the enthusiasm. Miami is unique in its diversity. It's unique in its blending of cultures, and you see that nowhere do you see it better than in the arts community. It is a really exciting, really vibrant community of artists, and we can't wait to watch how it goes on from here.
Now, Kathryn, I think Fountainhead is a part of this, right? You guys collaborated with Miami Art Strong. How did you get involved with that?
We are. Well, I mean, the community came together. I have to tell you that this has been such a beautiful, rewarding experience to bring, because there are also multiple people within each organization that are working together. So you have marketing teams working together, you have fundraising teams working together, you have organizations that are representing artists working together. So it's not just any one person within an organization, it is many people. There's so much I want to say about this because I'm so excited. But as we've given all of these statistics, whether it be about how the economic impact, but there's really this emotional impact that ties you to a city, that ties you to your neighbors, that is brought about through the arts. And in working together and supporting multiple art forms or other organizations within the same art forms, it brings community together, it strengthens our community, it strengthens our sense of place, our commitment to where we are, our commitment to one another. And I just think that this unleashes so much potential in future collaborations and just working together. I think in the past, people were a bit protective potentially of their donors and supporters. And now everybody's really realizing that the more we work together, the stronger we are. And I think you're going to see some extraordinary things coming out of this, out of Miami Art Strong. And what you're seeing as far as that video and the hashtags is really barely scratching the surface of what you're going to see very soon.
I think that's a good point, how people are starting to come together. I mean, I always felt like Miami was together anyway, but I think now you're right. Hey, volunteers, donor lists, let's get everybody together and see that we're really all in this together. So, and I think, Dave,
Exactly.
You have something similar in Palm Beach, right? Isn't there like a community, a virtual COVID-19 mural or something like that you guys are doing?
Yes, one of the things that an artist has put together in Palm Beach County, Sharon Koskoff is the artist's name. The mural is called Alone Together. It features the work of 113 Palm Beach County artists that all created work during the pandemic. The work is available for sale, and the sale of the artwork goes to support our newly formed Artist Relief Fund. So we are providing small grants to artists that have had gigs canceled or shows postponed because of the pandemic. I think that Miami Art Strong is a wonderful example of what all of us in the cultural sector are doing right now. And that is, we're looking at the pandemic not as a disruptor, but as an accelerant, right? Finding ways that we're working together and innovating through this. And these are the ways that we're going to be able to sustain and grow and recover. The cultural sector is resilient in all of our communities, and it takes creative problem solvers, which is what artists are, to help us through this. So examples like the Alone Together mural and Miami Art Strong are really strong indications that, you know what, we're going to be okay. It might take us a while, but this community, our cultural communities, will come back and find new ways, new collaborations, new partnerships that will strengthen our work overall.
And Kelley, so tell us how the Broward Center has made moves to go virtual. What are they doing over there to make it go virtual for the volunteers, for the performers? education? What are they doing right now?
Yeah, well, you hit on the three main areas where we're focusing our virtual activities. So they are education, performances, and then engagement. The last one there may not be so obvious. In the world of engagement, we're using virtual formats to engage our volunteers, to engage our donors, to keep our arts community connected around us. And one of the things that I think it highlights is that arts organizations, as mission-driven organizations in our community, have known for some time that social isolation in the elderly population was already an issue before COVID-19. And so just think of the way that the challenges with that have multiplied themselves during the pandemic. So what we've tried to do is stay connected to them through Zoom queue times. So queue time would be that time where we would bring our volunteers together, like you saw them on the stairs before a performance, give them instructions for the night, reacquaint everybody with each other, maybe tell some news about what's happening here at the center and with people in it. And so we've reorganized queue time to happen online in a virtual format. And we're drawing all those folks in our volunteer corps into this format to see each other, to see us, to catch up on news about the center and goings on in their community. And in doing so, trying to stay engaged, combat isolation and the effects of it for all of us in this environment.
So what do you guys see moving toward the future? How do you want to sustain the arts and the funding and the technology you're using nowadays? How do you plan on implementing them and not just making them things we're doing to survive right now, but things that we could use in the future to help grow an audience? Because if you're getting all these different organizations together, if you're coming up with all these different technologies, how do we make sure that that is in play when you can go to a show, when you can go to an art opening, when you can go to a different performance and things like that? So what are you guys thinking about that?
Can I want to start just by saying one thing, because I also want to get outside of us as organizations and talk about the artists, right? Because I do think that this time has really shown us how valuable artists are, not just the artwork that they make, the performances that they create, the symphonies. It really is about the artists themselves. And what can we do to further support them, not just now, but well into the future, because they're really finally, I think, getting the light shined on them for how they feed our hearts, our minds, and our souls on a daily basis. Can you imagine going through COVID without the arts? It's unbelievable. So I think we need to look at that new initiatives that are happening that are primarily being artist-led to continue to support the artists in our communities. Dave was talking about artists, performers doing online performances, paid performances for an audience. You see a lot of artists that are doing new initiatives, whether it be multiples to reach a larger audience, or opportunities like Jesse Schilling, who's bringing together multiple artists in a gallery type show. So I think we need to look for more ways to support artists, because they give so much back to our lives.
So it's important just to make sure all these different initiatives are available for them. So if right now you are filming a performance, making sure when people can't come to the performance, saying, hey, also if you have that interesting performance you want to do online or pay-per-view, we still have those resources available for you.
Well, yeah, and I think it's keeping that connection between the artist and the audience, right? That's what's changed so much here, is that connection with the individuals. Like, you could go to see a performance, but you wouldn't necessarily have the opportunity to meet the artists. So now with all of these behind scenes and Zoom events, you're actually seeing the artists. So that's what I think needs to be continued and actually expanded, is how do we get into the communities and meeting the artists themselves, through initiatives like Artists Open that we started, where literally over 300 artists open their studios to the public.
I think that we've seen time and time again through this, that people need the arts. in order to get through crises like this, right? The arts can help us come together at times to grieve, to celebrate, to mourn, to protest. We've seen that time and time again. And I think that moving forward, we can't lose sight of this rare opportunity that we have right now. People are finding the need to connect with the arts, and we've got to do everything we can to remove barriers so that that connection, that true connection between artist and audience can happen. Kelley talked about engagement. That is such an important word. When we think about creating arts experiences, we want to make sure that people are engaged with us. I also think that we need to be realistic and think that the effects of COVID are going to be long-term, and this is going to be with us for a while. So the changes we're making today, I don't think we can look at as sort of temporary. They'll be done by November, but really, how can we incorporate these long-term into our organizations? How can we utilize technology that everyone has sort of gotten used to now? We all grumble about Zoom and all of these other platforms, but it is an important way that we can reach people where they feel comfortable and engage with them in a new and exciting way. So I think technology is going to be very important as we look forward into the future. And the last thing I'll say is just back on partnership and collaboration. We've seen all of, we've talked tonight about the importance of all of us coming together. And I think that finding ways to do that in more broad scale ways can only help to support all of us and our efforts to reach our audiences moving forward.
Kelley, I have to hear from you, Kelley.
Well, I think both Kathryn and Dave have made some good points, and I want to hit on two of them. First of all, I think Kathryn's touching on something that I think is really important that relates to what Dave just said about all of us becoming masters of new technology out of necessity right now. So both artists and audiences are getting used to the different platforms that are keeping them connected to each other right now. And that's going to bring forward a whole new platform for artists to be engaged with audiences and provide some more depth to the experience, a little more connection to the artists themselves, and possibly links to other work of theirs that you wouldn't have witnessed if you had simply attended the performance. There was some research I'm reminded of that occurred, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, that suggested that 90% of audiences left performances with unanswered questions. And the notion that there could be follow-up discussions through a Zoom format with artists, post-show talkbacks and things like that, that could be broadly experienced and played back later, that would give people a greater depth of knowledge of the piece of work they've just witnessed and the artist that performed it for them, I think really is something that would help the arts along in the future. A couple of statistics as we think about streaming performances. Obviously, people have been consuming them like crazy, free ones that they pay for. We've done some surveys through a consortium of art centers around the country about people's reaction to streaming performances, and 21% of them believe there's a role for streaming performances in the future, not necessarily as a substitute to the live performance that I think we all appreciate has qualities that can't be replaced in a streamed environment, but as an add-on, as other access to art that they didn't have before. So I think we're discovering things that we can do that we didn't know we could do before. We're getting comfortable in technical environments, more so than we were before. And I think it's going to leave a lot of great new channels open for artists and audience to be engaged moving forward.
I want to thank my guests. Thank you guys. I hope everyone enjoyed it at home. You can find more info on everything we discussed in this town hall on our Facebook page at Your South FL. Thanks for watching.